$30 million sewer plant.
Mm-hmm.
Purchase. That does not include any infrastructure. I guess now is the only time I can talk about infrastructure, if that's okay with you. Sure. Right in there. As we all know, the infrastructure in the village of Goshen is very old, dated, and there's a few areas where there's some heavy I&I, infiltration and inflow. So when we get rainwater coming in, sometimes the volume is more than the system can handle. So there are definitely areas that need improvement. If there was a magic wand or something that could be done immediately that wouldn't negatively impact village ratepayers, I'd be all for it. Unfortunately, there's no magic wand that can fix all of our sewer problems at once. As if you look at the total budget for sewer, our income is equal to exactly what we have to spend. There's no extra money for this right now. Currently, the only way to do any large-scale thing would be to take more from the village ratepayers that are already being burdened significantly by the $30 million debt from our sewer plant. That being said, it's still a serious problem the village is focused on. There are some short-term things we're going to work on and some long-term things. Short-term, we're going to begin an in-house I&I study. And I&I studies basically, various things, I can't speak specifically because I'm not an engineer, but basically determining which pipes in the village are worse off and which are okay, and they basically can tell us which pipes need to be fixed first, second, third, etc., and give us basically a checkup on our infrastructure. When you subcontract those out, those studies can be very expensive, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and that's before you actually change any pipes. That's just to get you the data to begin changing things. So we're talking initially a few $100,000. I've met with our Superintendent of Public Works, Mike Nesleys, and Engineer Artelli on this a few times. We've spent some time going around the village, traveling to different spots, looking at areas that they believe could be high impact zones for I&I. And the first step that we're going to be taking is purchasing flow meters. Those are going to be used to basically put them in there, and when the flow goes up or goes down, these flow meters can monitor them. So we can isolate which areas there's the highest degree of I&I. So that'll give us the first real picture of this, and that's the first major step that we're taking this coming year. Additionally, we're going to be doing sewer jetting soon, root cutting, and also TVing the sewer lines. And what that's going to do is any pipes that have any blockages in there, whether it's roots that have crept in or just blockages in general, that will clear up space. So those are two things that we're doing right away. Additionally, we're going to look into various funding opportunities, and this is more of the long-term thing, and funding is going to come from two sources, potentially. One of these is in the form of grants. We're going to be vigorously pursuing grants to find some outside revenue, because with outside revenue, the village ratepayers aren't going to be negatively impacted. There's a county community block grant that's being put out, and we're determining if there's anything that we can apply for in that grant that would be helpful to the village. It's difficult because there's various guidelines that make you either able to go after certain funds, but it's something we're going to spend a lot of time on, and if there is a potential way the village can pursue revenue from that grant, we're going to do so. At the same time, we're also going to look into other opportunities, whether state and federal, etc. The other way we're going to hope to bring in revenue to fix this problem on a long-term scale is going to be new users. The only way to bring in revenue without adversely affecting current village residents is going to be to get new money coming into the plant. We have the capacity. We've been talking to a few different developers. One we've been negotiating with recently. And just to speak to that briefly, our negotiations with those, we've been negotiating not using hardline tactics that has been alluded to in the press, but actually negotiating in good faith and with the win-win desire. We've had some good meetings. We're not done yet. All the information with deals that we work out is going to be public information. We spoke about some stuff in a work session before a public meeting one night as a village board, but all information that we work out with the developers will be made perfectly public. And what this allows us to do, because when a developer comes in, we'll be getting some upfront funding. And I can't give a number, but that money can be allocated to do a more in-depth I&I study, to replace a potentially very bad spot in the infrastructure. If we know for a fact after doing our in-house studying that there's one spot of a 20-foot line that needs to be repaired, that would be easiest to repair, and we get this money from the developers, then we can do so without having to take out a large bond that's going to burden everyone in the village. So basically that's what we're doing right now. It's the beginning. It's far from the end, but we are committed to working on the problem. But it's nothing that's going to happen overnight, and it's something that's going to cost a lot of money. But in time, and starting the process now, we will work out this problem.
One question. It says on the manholes that they're 1914. Is that the age of the pipe? most of the pipes? I know some have been replaced.
I don't have an answer to that.
So you're not planning on having any kind of funds come from people that are hooked in for future replacement? You're going to find out where the breaks are or where the problems are, and then apply for state grant or whatever, but you're not looking to even put 50 cents on each homeowner to start to build a fund to try and replace pipes in the future that could be 100 years old.
Well, we're going to be doing things concurrently. We're going to be pursuing grants, doing this in-house work, and then that'll give us more information to go on.
Have you reviewed the old studies that were done, I believe, when Marcy was Commissioner of Mayor Lyons, because they did all the I&I and the whole 9 yards way back then when they lined the pipes and it didn't work? Has that been all reviewed and looked into? Because it seems that we're now repeating, and with all due respect, this did not start overnight. I'm not trying to pick on you. But it seems like this is going to be now the second round of going through and doing the scopes that go through the pipes and the smoke and the whole 9 yards. And really, what has been fixed except for when they tried to when Lyons did that?
Well, obviously, when we do our in-house work, our village engineer and all those involved is going to use any past evidence that's readily available. Unfortunately, a study that was done 10, 15, 20 years ago is not going to be the most reliable thing for right now. So we can't just take a 20-year-old study and assume that the pipes have stayed exactly the same.
Not that long ago.
It's not that long ago, and with all due respect, I mean, I've seen the price of sewer mains. They're like, just to replace one is astronomical, and at some point, and this is just my opinion, some board that is elected, because I've now gone through Lyons, I went through Marcy, I've gone through I don't know how many people on this board, and not one person has come up and said we're going to charge each hookup, whether it's the town or the village, because there are no boundaries here. We're going to charge you 50 cents, and we're going to start putting up a fund that is going to replace this. At least start somewhere. If you have a septic system at your house, which I would imagine one of you on this board must have, you have to replace it at some point. Everybody does.
So you're suggesting an additional fee on building?
Even if it's 50 cents a year, at least somebody's starting something somewhere. If there are cracks in the pipe, or if you're sending in augers to grind up roots that are in a pipe because they're blocking the whole pipe, those roots, you can sit there and say there aren't cracks in the pipe until you're blue in the face. Those roots got in there somewhere. It's not a genius.
Has someone denied that?
Pardon me?
Has someone denied that recently? If there's roots
it might not be this administration, but it was I think when there was a previous sewer commission who said there were no cracks.
But what's gone on since I entered office.
I know, but at some point that pipe,
statements, not someone else's.
That pipe is going to have to be replaced. I mean, I would imagine it is, because otherwise you're just going to be doing that every 4 months, 5 months, going in there with an auger to try and get the roots out.
Sure, and that's why that's not the only thing that we're going to be doing, as I mentioned.
It's like two different planes here is what I'm seeing. But I feel sorry for the people in Goshen, because eventually it's just going to get so bad that, you know.
Well, I don't think that's fair to say, and I don't think you can make future generalizations like that. Let's see how our in-house research goes, and we'll see how we react to that and what sources of funding we can get. I don't think it's really fair to make future statements like that without knowing what's going to happen in the future. You personally don't know how we're going to do in applying for grants. You don't know how we're going to do trying to find outside users. And to make statements like that scare village residents?
I don't think I'm scaring anybody. I've been sitting in front of this board. I've seen people come before this board, not myself, that have had sewage and complained about it for God knows how many years. And at some point, somebody has to put some funding somewhere. It's the point, I mean, you're supposed to plan. If your roof's leaking, you don't wait for a grant to come and fix your roof. You at least start somewhere. I'm not saying overnight, but start. At least come up with a 40-year plan, a 50-year plan. Come up with a plan.
A 40-year, 50-year plan would probably begin doing some research on the infrastructure you have, correct?
It's been done already. But that's just...
That's what we're going to do, just to summarize. We're going to find out what we need, And then, once we get the study and we get the new users, we're gonna take the funds we're getting from the new users and apply it towards infrastructure. Pretty simple. But we don't know what we're getting from the new users, so we can't.